We have got three amazing speakers, each of whom deserve an independent session by themselves. I have had the privilege of going through the presentations that they have sent in advance, and also had discussions with them. And my God, the kind of knowledge and the data that they possess is just unbelievable. Let us make use of the limited time that we have in listening to them. Each one has been allotted about 20 minutes to take their session forward. And we have provided for about half an hour for Q&A from the audience. So you all are requested to put your questions in the Q&A box, and we'll be taking from there. With that, may I invite Dr. Shukla? Sorry, let's begin with Mr. Prashant. Prashant, you may begin your session. You have 20 minutes for your session. Thank you.
Sure. Thank you, Naushad, and thank you, the BCS team, for giving me this opportunity to speak at this August audience. And good evening to all the participants. My name is Prashant Pereira. I take care of secure authentication and secure payments across worldwide. It's a unique technology based out of tokenization. Today, I'm going to be talking more on the lines of the consumer's expectation of 5G. Now, as you are all aware, as Mr. Amit pointed out, there was a lot of expectations and it was finally launched in October. Now, 5G as a technology is 100 times faster than 4G, as you are all aware of. And there have been a lot of expectations, especially from the millennial and the Generation Z, in terms of, the speed that 5G carries. However, the key aspect here is that while 5G has a lot of expectations and people are looking forward for this kind of technology in terms of, getting the speeds increased in terms for their gamings and various different kinds of, download speeds and usage that will encompass multiple industries in all factors, and especially a boon for the fintech. Okay. Initially, the challenge will be because it is limited to a few cities. Okay. The full potential of 5G will be restricted until it is spread across to the other aspects or the other areas of the country, as well as globally. Because otherwise, when you introduce a kind of technology and it is limited to a couple of locations itself, then the usage becomes limited. The second factor is also on the point from the consumer aspect is the affordability. Okay. While many feel that, presently they are being overcharged, in the 4G itself. Okay. Now, will they pay a higher premium and go in for the 5G, irrespective of the speeds and other things that are included here? Okay. The third aspect from the consumer point of view is also the point of privacy. Now, privacy is one thing which is not fixed in a 5G aspect. And here what happens is that what you call in terms of the connectivity, in terms of privacy, there is a challenge in which whereby during the connection process, there is a lack of encryption. Okay. And this can be, misused by the hackers. So it is easier to, hack through multiple devices at this point of time. Okay. The third being, now since the broadband activity between 5G is much more lesser than the antennas of the 4G. Okay. The high-rise buildings could have an impact on the overall connectivity. Not only the high rise, but in terms of monsoon, the rain could also affect this kind of technology at this point of time. Okay. So basically the thing is, while this is a much awaited technology, there are a lot of gaps that need to be fulfilled to have the full-fledged use of the 5G network overall. But on the pro side of it, it is an amazing technology coming in. Okay. If some of you were of my generation, we were called the Trekkies or the Star Trek generation, whereby you had all this, communicators giving you, reaching far access, you talking across spaceships and planets. 5G is getting you there. Okay. Now the speed of communication, you can download high stream videos. There are various aspects in real time. The automobile industry, you can have real time messaging, imaging, and the kind of information that gets relayed to a 5G technology. The potential use of this is far reaching. For fintech industry, it's a huge boom, because the speed at which the transactions can be processed now will increase revenue. It'll bring down the costs overall that is being spent in terms of your processing and your overall operations that are being managed. In the medical industry, it will be again a huge boon, whereby people can be treated from any parts of the world, by doctors and other medical professionals in this field, just by video conferencing and real-time data streaming across. Okay. And when you look at it in terms of education, okay, again, once more, you will be able to connect to any course across the world and will be able to view real-time information across and study, okay, and interact with your professors and your faculty, and be able to take classes and download your academic data across, and be able to learn across various streams on that front. So in terms of 5G technology, this is a very, very big leap over the last half a century, where we first started with 1G in 80s, and every decade there has been an improvement to one more G. Okay, the second G came out in 90s, and so on and so forth. And once this entire technology has come into play, okay, it has far-reaching. It will actually revolutionize the way we are living right now. Okay. Also, the fact that one of the concerns with Mr. Amit pointed out was that the fear of this technology in terms of health concerns. There have been lots and lots of rumors, stating that the 5G towers are not good for your health and they're causing a lot of issues. It was so much so that it was even linked to the pandemic, and saying this is a real kind of technology which is causing a lot of illness across. But let me tell you for a fact that it uses electromagnetic frequencies. Now, electromagnetic frequencies are used to create an electromagnetic field which is used in the 5G technology. Now, you'll be surprised that the same technology is used in your microwave oven. Okay. And the same technology is used in power lines. Also, at some point of time in your computers. So if it has not affected you now, it is not going to affect you later. So it is only conspiracy theories based on what people are, looking at and trying to create a fear factor. It is when you don't know certain things, you try to, put some fear where everybody gets a little bit jittery in what it is all about. Okay. Other than that, it is nothing much. Okay. So while the consumer in conclusion, while the consumer will still have a lot of time where this will actually come into their home ground where they can use, it is going to revolutionize. In another 2 to 3 years, we will be on a very different plane with this 5G technology, where it has far-reaching application and implementations across the field, across industries. Every industry is going to benefit from this kind of technology, and we are lucky at this stage to have seen all the generations pass through. At least in my age, I think I have seen all the 5Gs going through, and probably may end up seeing the 6G and actually live the Star Trek generation. So thank you very much.
Prashant, that was an excellent warm-up, I would say, for the other two speakers. Brilliantly, you have explained what it entails. And I must mention that the journey of the the telecom industry in India began with Sam Petroda, for whom we all have greatest of respect. Uh, then came a blip, and we had so Vinod Rai uh, with that 1,76,000, and 2G became infamous. Uh, so that blot on 2G perhaps has reduced from 1,76,000 to some 4,000 crore, but the connectivity has not uh, changed or improved. I think that part needs to be understood why and what could be the reason for it, and whether 5G will do that. The data connectivity has gone from nice to far extreme. It is just the calls, perhaps, and there must be a reason for it. Yeah. The reason to have fintech as one of today's session is to understand, for us chartered accountants, perhaps this is where we aspire to have our own fintech, where we are already consulting other fintechs, and as consumers also, perhaps fintech is where we are going to benefit the most. So I think with this, I invite Dr. Shukla to have his 20 minutes on this.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much.
Please go ahead.
And please allow me to share my screen.
Sure. Javed?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. He wants to share his presentation.
Sir, right there, Samni.
Yeah, so
Okay.
the first slide is visible. Is that so?
No, there's no slide visible right now.
Okay, I think it should be visible now. 1 second. I started sharing my slides. Is it
Yes,
It's
at
beginning.
least the message is
clear? Okay, okay. Thank you.
appearing.
Yeah, and
You need to
I
Go
need
ahead.
to make it into the full screen mode.
No, it says you started sharing, but nothing's visible. So perhaps you need to, yeah, now it's visible.
We can see now.
Yeah,
Okay, thank you.
but it's not in the presentation
Yeah,
mode.
yeah, I'm doing.
Right.
I think now it's in presentation. Right?
This
it
is
in
where
presentation
5G
mode?
will actually help.
There's a gap, there's a lag between the thing.
Damn, this 4G.
Yeah, this is where it will actually help.
Okay. Yeah, so
5G will help.
thank you for organizing this wonderful webinar, which is actually required for many of the fields and many of the domains in our day-to-day life. And I'll be trying to cover a few things, which is actually taking the some difficulties and something pros and cons. Those things we'll be discussing. My point is like impact on fintech industry, new products, new services, time for revolutions. So basically, before going for the, discussing on the what it could be and what it would not be, first thing we need to understand the success of technology, because every philosopher says the different definition of the success of other things in the life, but success of technology when it reaches to the last person of your society or of our society, then that technology becomes viable or more reachable, or it could perhaps do the wonders. Because so the first thing I'll start with the news, which gives. Is that slides are changing? Slides are changing, sir.
No, I think it's still stuck on the
First slide.
yeah, I can see the cover slide,
Okay.
but your presentation mode is not on.
I have started the presentation mode. 1 second.
Perhaps you need to just then.
Is it happening now?
No, it's not happening.
Still not?
No.
Oh.
All right, something's happening now. Oh, okay.
1 second. Let me start sharing again. Is that available now?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. So, so before going for the entire details, the important part is like, I mean, if our technology is reaching to the last person in the society, or I mean, at the last end. So this is the glimpse that, I mean, initially what was happening in some of the temples or some of the premises, mobile phones were not allowed. And because of this, some regions, now they are allowing the mobile phones because they have adopted the some digital technology part. So this is the part where we can call it that our technology is success, because wherever there were the so restrictions on the different uses of the mobile phones, now they are allowing the mobile phones in different for the different purposes. So it's nothing to cover up the any specific domain, but just to show till what level our, I mean, digital technology is reaching. So the first thing, whether what G stands for generation or the gigabyte, but coincidentally right now the gigabyte and the generation is matching, I mean, shoulder to shoulder. We'll discuss on that point in upcoming slides. So what is G in 1G to 5G? Please watch this slide very carefully. When we are talking about 1G, so it was like analog voice. When we are talking about 2G, digital voice plus simple data. When we are talking about 3G, then mobile broadband started coming. When we are talking about the 4G, then richer content, video, more connections, faster and better. But when we are talking about the 5G, could you see the explanation? Real world applications. So it is going to define each and individual sectors, industries, society, and everything. It is going to define how. So we'll talk about the, let's say in USA, by the time the data was taken in 2019, the maximum speed they could be able to find out around 1.8 Gbps. And when they were using the 4G, they were less. So these nations were the initially user for the 5G and already launched over there. They are using also, but still they are struggling to reach up to the 10 Gbps, because there may be the limitation in certain instrumentation, there may be the limitation in certain viability also. Now coming to the point, the sequence left side, you can see how the countries are keep on adding from first half of the year to the second half of year since 2018 to 2021, how much nations keep on adding. And in right side of the slide, you can see the green area where the deployment, I mean the investment in 5G is happening, and the testing bed was deployed before this also. I mean, so there is a 3 stages initially. I mean, the investment part, before investment, the technology is getting tested. And the rumor which was started during the COVID, because of that, I mean, people used to say that the testing of 5G is happening. That's why this coronavirus is so much active. So that these type of the rumors are there. And actually, I was very close to the one of the testing bed which was installed in IIT Kanpur. And when I used to visit that testing center for the 5G, and we could be able to sense the things that there is nothing as harmful. I mean, the people are speaking outside. So this was the something. But India, I mean, when the 1G started, so 11 years later, we started adopting. When 1G came, I mean, after that, when 2G came, then 3G, then 4G. But the better part is that the 5G, which is the finest right now in the, I mean, across the globe, we are going to adopt it very soon, because testing is done. Now the investment is happening. Probably soon everything will be covered. I mean, the nation will be covered with the 5G, probably in the time frame of 3 to 5 years. Now, coming to the average internet speed of the, in case of the 5G, this is the data which was, I mean, the last in case of the March 2020-22. So it's still having, I mean, 0.24 Gbps. So that's, I mean, some of the nation is having this much speed, where probably, I mean, other domains may not be actively working, or the things are not probably happening. So many factors will be there that they are not able to get the as much as fastest speed possible. But in 5G, we are expecting the speed up to 10 Gbps. Now, coming to the point, what are the factors, I mean, how it is conducive for the ecosystem in the, I mean, our nation? It's basically, first of all, test beds started in different IITs. So the universities are also going to use startup system, because they need to develop many more things innovatively, which requires, I mean, very high speed. I mean, probably they will be using the devices which is IoT connected. For that also the speed is required when it is IT services or the product. So the 5 largest firm of the world from India, they are doing, I mean, much more innovative part in that domain, but they require this type of the speeds, telecom operators, chipset and mobiles, equipments and government functioning. So these total 6 or 7 fields, I mean, different sectors are waiting to welcome with the actual, I mean, experience of the 5G, how they will be doing. So 5G will play a crucial role in future in case of the digital and connected India. So if we are talking about the agriculture, smart manufacturing, smart care, I mean, telehealth, smart energy and utilities, smart cities, smart education. So everything is getting smart. But what is the more important? That we'll be talking in upcoming slide, that these are the cross checks that, I mean, we are planning for this domain. Let's say for the agriculture, we are I mean, planning the connection density, reliability and energy saving. So likewise in another fields, we are talking about the different parameter which is actually required, and we can see that none of the field require all the checklist. I mean, none of the field is requiring all the checklist. That's why, because there is a different parameters for the different sectors. Now, technical viability, as sir previously told, that it is actually technically because it's in the category of non-ionizing radiations. I mean, the radiations which we are actually having in our home, I mean, in case of the microwave ovens or those things, still we are in between the domain. It's not like that something different or the ionizing radiation we are having, so that any diseases can be caused to the human beings. So that's actually, I mean, this research says that we are in the non-ionizing radiation condition. Now coming to the point, 5G technology leaders. I mean, when we are talking about the leaders, so the first thing is that why our nation was so behind to start the chip manufacturing or those things manufacturing, because the essential number of the patents were not with our nation. So that's why now again the 5G technology leaders were from Huawei, Samsung, and whenever we are talking about a specific manufacturer of the technology, it's important to identify there should not be some loophole, because the entire system of our nation is going to be deployed on those test beds or the system beds, or you can say the technology bed, and it should not be from the back end stolen for the different purpose by the different nations. So the security purpose comes over here, but absolutely there were the I mean, this pandemic gives us the scope for the acceleration of the deployment we were expecting after a few more years, but this COVID gives us an opportunity to accelerate this type of the testing, to accelerate this type of the, I mean, it was shown that the manufacturing for the certain domain was exactly not happening, but well, I mean, the things which we can do from the laptop or the system was actually having from the different set of the, I mean, scientists or different set of the, I mean, experts from the industries, they were actually doing, and that's why it's happened possible in India beforehand. Now, coming to the sectors, I mean, where are the sectors, how it is going to from existing our economy to the world's economy up to 5 trillion. And then in that case, what are the contributors? So we can see the contributors existing from the ports to the existing, I mean, going up to the oil routes. So container ports, oil refineries, manufacturing, construction, mines, warehouse, wind farms, and oil rigs. These are covered. And it will be an amazing information if we'll try to check the first country where, I mean, the entire construction is having, I mean, completely automated, or I mean, it's monitored through the central system. It's in South Korea. They started even 5 or 10 years before that, how to, I mean, manage the construction entirely from the one of the control room by giving the instruction to their manpower, who were wearing the certain kind of the devices. Now coming to the point, still question remains why we need 5G. The important part is like, are we in the transition? Yes. Transition of what? The important part is transition of industrial era, transition from industry 4.0 to 5.0. That's why I told, yes, somehow coincidentally, we are resembling the G for generation to the G for gigabyte. Now, even we are in transition from 4.0 to 5.0. What is the important factor that it derives us? That yes, we need this type of the thing. Suppose that if I'm, we'll start with a simple example. Suppose that I'm receiving a mail by writing, "Dear sir." So probably my attention will not be caught that much. I will feel that it's a generic mail. It is written to me just for certain information. But if someone is writing by my name, that "Dear Ashish so and so," so I'll be getting more attention towards that. So in that case, why do we need it? Because we need a personal customization in industry 5.0. So that's the big task. It's not, I mean, let's say if we are talking about our nation itself, the person with the, I mean, the nation with the citizens of 140 crore people, it's very difficult to customize each and individual things for everyone. But the only hope we are having with 5G technology, which can enable, I mean, because 5G technology as an internet connection is enabler for Industry 5.0 also. So the personal customization in each and individual field, it's important. Now coming to the fintech industry. So the fintech industry starts with, I mean, financial terminals, financial platforms, processing channels, dependencies and interdependencies. So these are important. Netting or not netting, these are a bit, I mean, backend terms which are actually not, coming, but yes, these backend terms are actually going to help how to define the system or how to define the, I mean, aggregators also. So the fintech industry, fast settlement of the payment is required because, I mean, when we are going to do any kind of the payment, it takes from one page to another page to third page, and there is a term called latency time. So that latency time is giving a scope for the people is, I mean, the people are using cyber security inadvertently. Like, I mean, if someone is an expert in hacking, that latency time is going to help them out. That yes, you can find a breach, but when the speed will be very fast, the latency time will reduce, and probably it will not give you a scope of any type of the cyber security breaches. So those things we can figure out, but fast payment transition of payment messages, the availability of final funds to the payee, or the occurs in the real time or near to the real time, 24/7. So these things basically we required for the fintech terminals and the fintech service providers also. And coming to the point, model of the payment processing. So this left side, you can see how it is happening for the conventional way. On the top side, I mean, if something is happening today, it may take another 2 or 3 days also. But if something is happening today, clearing right away, and if something is, I mean, inter-PSP based settlement, so it can go to the next day also. But still, these are having certain, I mean, interdependency will be coming to that point. Payment model one, in which there are the two domains. One is the real time or the near time domain, another the deferred time domain. So still, this is not the thing which is providing to the customers for the better experience. Now coming to the model two, in which all the things are in the near or real time domain. Near and real time domain, people can process their payments and everything, but still in India, if, I mean, we are going for the time difference, if we are talking about, it starts from, I mean, it ends up to 30 seconds, and sometime this can be the cause for multiple other failures and multiple other things. I'll be talking on to that point. So this is the layer. I mean, technological layer, we can show, I mean, how the things are operating in case of the financial or the fintech world. The internet is one of the important pattern, starts from the just after the instruments. The internet is most important part from the bottom. So when we are talking about the internet criteria, we can see how the thing started for the Indian condition in 2010, and by 2019, the, I mean, different conditions were changing, and how these type of the things were developed. I mean, what were the primary requirement to make an identifier, then to, I mean, the payment rails, and then data sharing, and many other things were there in the picture. How it could have happened? It's not just by, if we could see very initial message that 1G was for something else operation, 2G was for some other operation, 3, 4, and 5G are some different specific operation. So the 4G was the enabler to do all these things in the better format. Now, coming to the point, if this is, I mean, the exchange part, so every transaction has to go through from one set to another set. Still, it's taking a much more time. The 5G is going to enable these things at the faster pace, because the time which you require from one platform to another platform or actively sharing the data will reduce, and things will be on the better plane with the help of 5G. Now coming to the, I mean, BSC, one of the fastest, it's claimed by BSC that 6 microseconds takes for them to settle one transactions. So approximately, I mean, none of the other stocks exchanges have claimed on in terms of the time duration. Only the BSC has claimed in terms of the time duration. That's a 6 microsecond. Means if we are dividing 1 second by 10 to the power 6 seconds, that's the 1 microsecond, and we can see how less it is to settle a transaction. Transaction means, I mean, buy, sell, or this activity at their platform, not the backend one. Backend we discussed in previous slide. And third largest in the world. So I mean, all the fintech leaders are there, so they must be knowing these things. I mean, I'm very young to describe on those points, but yes, these things are at the back end taking time, which can be resolved with the other, I mean, system development. Financial services from all these, I mean, probably 6 giants they are having some, interdependent structures because they are using the user third-party vendors and they are, big tech groups, they are working combinedly on one platform. So they will take, other times because taking of the payment is quite faster, but reversal of the payment is so lengthy process for each one of them. So how this is happening so lengthy, and this 5G will enable them to proceed for the very quick reversal. And I will come to even I'll come to the point where even the, we can say that transaction in the real time also taking a time and people are suffering, and that can be resolved by the 5G. So these are the dependencies and interdependencies in the intra group, that what are the factors are they dependent, what are the external interdependencies. So we can solve all these problems with the help of 5G platforms, because the 5G platforms, the first target was the latency rate, means the delay time. How this common data, cycle, but not the real time. These are the cycles, automated. They are saying it is automated, but it is not actively in the real time domain. So if 5G operation will be there, these things can be done in the real time domain. The last part which I will be covering, data monetization. In this case, they will be taking a lot more time to do this, but this can be generated in the real time frame with the help of 5G technology. Importance of the data, need 5G for the real time analysis. So this is the cycle which they should have to take care that how they can make a protocol for the real time response, real time response, but the enabler will be again 5G technology, because it's giving a so much speed as well as the other features to do this kind of the things. Now details from UPI. First thing I will be saying, 358 live banks. UPI is having the channel to show the 358 live banks, and other data is also presented subsequently. But the first thing is 358 live banks we are covering in UPI. And the another important part, you can see at the bottom, the downtime is 0%. Basically, it's always an uptime considering a schedule and unscheduled maintenance. This is the data of the September month. Now, what it derives the need. When we are talking about the business decline or the technical decline, so then the error starts from 13%, 12.32%, and it goes to 17.64%, and even higher also. In some cases, even it's higher. And when it's technical decline, based on the platform, because platform, once we are keep on adding the multiple pages, multiple features, the technical decline is going to happen. But fortunately, technical decline is not happening. So the business decline is happening. In the case business decline, the major target is insufficient balance. But why we are not able to showcase during the transaction that your balance, during internet banking, we are showing that. But why not we are able to show that why UPI transaction? Because it's adding one more feature or one more page time. So by that time, there may be an option of the security breach also can be there possibly. Second thing, it takes a longer time duration. By that time, there, because of some other fluctuation, the transaction may get cancelled, also may not be successful. So the time limitation in the UPI is there, which is not covered in BD, but it's covering in TD. The another important part is like, how these things can be done. The technical glitch needs to be sorted by 5G. If the speed will be proper, then within that given time frame, even multiple pages can be, tracked, or other solution maybe. The technically viable solution from the software side. So, the TD, the technical decline maximum 3%. But now coming to the statistics to generate, what is the need? You can see the map. In that map, you can see only Maharashtra and Tamil Nadu and Uttar Pradesh probably is having a, first, second, and third ranking in case of the UPI transactions, but that too only limited case. Other states are having scope to increase this transaction, means people are actually not using. So there is a foolproof scope, and there may be the reason that can we help them out by 5G technology, that this can be even more easier. So this is the scope for fintech, how it can be more easier for these peoples. Statistics defines here opportunity matches with the technology. Opportunity for 5G, low latency, delay time can be, one of the other factor that yes, this can be derived. Scope to increase the transactions, scope to provide the easier way for them. I mean, the people in other states. Now, theories, I mean, this is the just to inform, I mean, few factors, but it's not important. Now, technology for 5G, IRCTC payment, I mean, though it's, I mean, having good platform, everything, but one counter they are not able to solve because it's not happening. It's having, I mean, the operation is in between the process. Operation is in between the backend. Suppose that if I need to book a ticket with the confirmed seat allocation, and my payment has to be detected then only. So the payment is the another platform, means like a platform from the banking platform, from the fintech, and the IRCTC is a different platform. By the time its ticket is getting reduced, it's not giving a syncing operation to make it the countability, so that if that particular operation is ticked, so that ticket should not get booked. But what is happening, even despite checking on that particular click, our tickets are getting booked, payments are getting detected, but we are getting into the waitlist seat, despite we have checked that list. So it's a major trick. Every day, almost 1.5 to 2 crore people are facing this type of the challenges. Yes, there is a provision with the help of 5G, it can be solved, because we can reduce few of the transaction lending side or the micro sites with the help of this real-time forex exchanges also we can, I mean, do, which is not happening right now. Payment facility for the vision deficiency people, it will be more helpful with the help of 5G technology. Payment facility for low literacy people or low literacy population, which is just now saw the example throughout the nation how it is actually operating. New products, new services, time for the revolution. Yes, disruptive learning, I mean, in this case, Tod for Jod, I mean, actually, if somebody really want to learn from them and they are not accessible to any of the courses or anything, they can see the internet. With the help, they can start, I mean, doing their own revolutionary part. Disruptive manufacturing technology is actually, because this technology is actually meant for, I mean, disruptive manufacturing, because this is actually meant for the manufacturing automation. So that's why this will be the most important. Intelligent consumer, disruptive customization, means we are talking about the smart cities, but before smart cities, we need to make people smart with the gadgets, with the utilization, so that they would be able to operate with that. They would be able to understand with that. They would be able to rectify the problems over there. So these things are important. These are the 5 business opportunities. I mean, just in one or another way, sir has already described. So I'm not covering this part. So these are the few factors of the smart cities. Now, coming to the point, video as a sensor. Right now we are having camera which describes this is the person face, this is, I mean, whenever we are trying to tag, whenever we are trying to identify, now the sum of the AI features starts generating that this is this person, this is this person. But can we use this as a surveillance or a monitoring or any another features? Yes, it can be done, but for that better internet connectivity is required. That, I mean, probably 5G is going to help out with this. And even every camera will be the, I mean, smart monitoring or the surveillance camera of everyone's phone in upcoming features. Now, mobility and self-driving, 5G enablers for the deep learning. I mean, basically 5G enablers or the deep learning requires a better, I mean, refresh rate, or basically saving data, or basically creating a learning. So yes, that can be possible with the help of 5G. This. Now coming to the healthcare, these are the something, I mean, some information which I wrote, but I think sir has covered all those points. Remote healthcare, telehealth, making electric grids and factories smarter. Again, we came to the automated point, because sometimes it's happening. There is, I mean, a load on the grids, but the generation is not happening that quicker. But to increase the load and, I mean, to start that electricity generation quicker based on the demand, based on the factory requirement. So those things, those smart, I mean, functions we can incorporate with the help of this 5G enabler. But now coming to the point, what could be the status of carbon emission in case of internet and in case of, initially it was at the located condition. Let's say if the server of the Google is, I mean, placed in USA, you can check the carbon emission near to that center. We are very easy to search any random words on the Google, and we are getting some results, and we keep on exploring, which is of actually no use for us, and it's not going to add any value, but it's adding a pollution to our nation or across the globe, because the search engine which is located in USA in the Google headquarter, it keeps on running to give you a search result at the very fast speed. So the energy which is consumed by the system and released in the form of radiation actually creating a carbon emission. But it's a, I mean, let's say I can say it's a warning sign in case of the 5G. Your system itself will be a point of the carbon emission, the located condition, I mean localized one, because USA is not permitting, or any nation who is having this type of the servers is not permitting to generate more than this. So probably the deployment of these type of the centers will be localized. Let's say one in Maharashtra, another one in another state, another one in another state. So this is the biggest problem. Data pollution is going to happen, because once you will be having the, I mean, data, then there will be threat also, then there will be pollution in that also. Probably things will be on what domain. It's a bit, I mean, difficult to predict from right away, but yes, pollution which is not good. So probably that data pollution will not be also. Digital security threat reduced or increased. In my opinion, it will be reduced, because the latency time is only giving a scope for this type of the security threats. But still, I mean, those type of the exercises has to happen, because I mean, once is like, I mean, some people are very expert in the cyber security. Probably they need to advance themselves more to reduce this. What next? 6G probably. But for sure, digital voting after, I mean, this upcoming election, and digital currency with real-time trade utility and real-time exchange. Thank you.
So that was, I would say, quite a lot of insight in the limited time that you had to yourself, and I think you did a commendable job.
Roshan bhai, you've gone on mute.
Sorry. So I'll repeat what I just said on mute. Ashish, in the limited time that you had, you packed in so much information and so much insight. Hats off to you. And I have seen your presentation. You could have gone on for another hour giving details, but you did an excellent job. You know, Mr. Modi is somebody to be taken seriously. He is known to take bold decisions, things out of the box, and he takes punts. The last 8-9 years, we have seen him take some very big calls. Earlier in perfecting or improving or correcting the system which was there, and thereafter pushing one reform or the other. The latest, I see him pushing 5G as India's thrust, which will help India achieve the $5 trillion dream that he has put in our mind. Also, the recent comment by our finance minister, where she spoke of India being a provider of 5G service to the rest of the world, is another thing which we are hearing. But being novices on this area, we don't know how it matters. But that on one side, and if we were to look at a few facts, one is, IT comprises about 8% of India's GDP. Recently, it has bumped up to 10%. Will 5G take it up further? That's one question that's playing in all our minds. The irony is that India's PC penetration is only 11%, one of the lowest amongst the developing economies. Whereas the smartphone penetration is about 24%. what does it speak? Are we kind of consumers of uh, data? Aren't we creators of data? Uh, does it kind of imply that this anomaly of smartphone versus PC? Some of the best banks in the world have their back office in India. So in that sense, we can tom about being pioneers in or leaders in the IT sector. But these are all low and uh, services which are pushed or outsourced. Is there any great value add that we are able to provide, or is it just a cost measure? We still don't have a major IT company. We still don't have major brands. What could be the reason? Will 5G change that and enable our um, entrepreneurs to emerge as global leaders in IT? These are some of the uh, questions one has in mind. And I think we have Mr. Atul Joshi, a fellow chartered accountant, gold medalist. At the same time, uh, he has been an a proponent of economics, understand economics well. I've had the pleasure of listening to him over the years, and also can vouch for his deep research and insights, as well as so many of his uh, calling them prophecies maybe too much, but his inclinations or the indications have uh, more often than be true. Uh, and a very sensible person, also a bold person, doesn't mince words, and he speaks his mind. So with that, Atul, may I invite you to enlighten us whether this call being taken by Mr. Modi on 5G being the accelerator towards 5T, is it, how true is it, and how will it happen if it does?
Thank you, Naushad, for your kind words. Just one correction: I was a 12th ranker in CA final, not gold medalist. Batchmate Nilesh Shah was the gold medalist. From Kotak, he was the gold medalist in the same from the same college. In fact, same batch. My whole premise is gonna be based on one key factor, which is we are already using 3G or 4G, and 5G is just that incremental technological leap from where we are today. We are not starting from 1G, we are not starting from 2G, we are already at, say, 4G. And we are taking a big leap from 4G to 5G. Now, I would look at it as what is the delta that the 5G brings in, and not look at I will be able to do this, I will be able to do that. Maybe a lot of it is being already done. So then I would look at the benefits of 5G into three buckets. One is the feel good factor, and the industries that would benefit from the feel good factor, which could also be customer delight in a way to speak. The second piece is the efficiencies that would come in from savings, savings of time because of the technological improvement, etc. So those efficiencies and savings related to the efficiencies. And the third piece, which is the actual delta, the contribution, which I would say is the actual delta to the economy. And so let me begin with the first one, which is the feel good factor or the customer delight. And the thing is that we still continue to experience call drops. You're taking a call and you just turn your head, phone gets disconnected, and things like that. They continue to happen. All of these were promised to us when we moved to 3G, and from 3G to 4G, that you will never have a call drop. But we continue to experience for whatever reason. That said, the optical fiber speed, fantastic improvement. So a lot of technology has gone into whatever we are actually experiencing, whether it is payment systems or trading systems or fintech systems, etc. They are basically taking the full usage of the 4G technology. But the feel good factor, which is the speed, lower latency, I think the biggest beneficiary is going to be the gaming industry. Today, when we started off the gaming industry, maybe 50 people could play the same game, 500 people could play the same game. Maybe going forward, 5,000 people or 50,000 people will be able to play the same game. So the gaming industry, which is the innovation in terms of the new games and the consumption of the gaming industry in terms of downloads and the actual play, would go to the next level. So to my mind, the biggest beneficiary of 5G is going to be the gaming industry. It's already a few tens of billions of dollars of economy in India. It'll go to the next level. The second biggest beneficiary of the feel good factor is coming from the customer delight, especially into the financial services, whether you call it fintech or financial services, whether it is loan application or share trading. And my colleagues have already gone into it in depth in terms of where it would benefit if we have the 5G technology. So these two are the key beneficiaries, and a lot of economic benefits would accrue. But I think it is basically based on the higher speed and the latency and some product development which would happen on the back of it. The second premise, the second block which I wanted to speak about is the efficiency that is resulting from the 5G technology. And I would just give examples. For example, if we are standing at a toll booth in our car, and it takes certain amounts of seconds or sometimes even a minute to get through the toll road, the toll plaza especially. And that's where the 5G technology, if we are able to have the right instruments, we are able to transmit the data by reading the FASTag, etc. And let's say we are allowed to go. So the amount of waiting that we happen to do at the toll plazas, that would come down. The efficiencies in terms of the time saving, in petrol saving, but these are all savings, I would say. Similarly, if I look at the medical field, which my colleague Dr. Ashish has already talked about, whether it is, a microsurgery or a microchip led in robotic surgery or a precision robotic surgery, this will all benefit because of the 5G technology. But it's not that just because I'm able to process, let's say, the data faster, I would have more number of patients. The interpretation of those data is ultimately happening by a doctor, a human being. And that's where the limitation really comes in, that yes, it will be good feeling. You save time in uploading the data, sharing the data with the doctor. You are able to read let's say, if you're doing a microsurgery through robotics, you would have much precise images coming into you as a doctor, and you would be able to do a much better job. But will it result into multiple more surgeries? I doubt it very much. We would have successful surgeries rather than more surgeries. There are multiple examples of such industries that one could talk about. But the third piece, which is I think the most important piece, if you were to look at the 5G technology and its impact either on GDP or economy, and that's where we need to be really brutal with us. What is the delta that the 5G technology brings in? And that's where I think the 5G technology is not much of use unless there is an innovation in instrumentation. And when I say instrumentation, I'm not restricting it to a specific type of instrument or specific category of instruments. I'm saying anything and everything, whether it is industrial or electronic or robotic or multiple, whatever it takes, medical equipment, anything and everything. But unless you have innovation in instrumentation, 5G technology will not be able to give you the kicker. For example, Dr. Ashok talked about, Dr. Ashish talked about the surveillance, and that's in fact one of the points I also wanted to speak about. Let's say at a railway station, today we are doing a face scanner. Now with an improved instrument, which could potentially do an iris scanning, it is not possible with 4G technology, the amount of data that would come in. But if you have the ability to create an instrument which can read multiple hundreds of people simultaneously, their iris, the 5G technology would actually help you scan all of them perfectly, transmit the data, store them, and then analyze them. That's where, let's say, the security services industry would go to the next level. The same thing happens to the drones, whether it is used for war, whether it is used for atmosphere, whether it is used for survival, various things. But unless you have the instruments backing it, if you take the example of the auto industry, people are talking about fully automated factories, etc. But that's where the Western world is. I mean, do we really need to remove the human intervention, given the state at which we are in terms of our population, in terms of the employment level, etc.? I think we need to strike a balance, going full gung ho on 5G technology and following the West, versus what we need to do for our country. What is the best balance? The full automation versus using the technology, the right mix, the right instrumentation, and continue to maintain the balance where it should be. I would end my conversation by saying that if you were to look at the autonomous cars, it's good to have. Even I would like it, but is it really practical in India? The way our driving habits are, you have people coming on two-wheelers, three-wheelers, people crossing. Whether an autonomous vehicle would really be a successful venture to look at. So there is a lot of things about 5G which I think depends whether it is industry 5.0 or any other thing. We have not invested in instrumentation. Instrumentation also means metallurgy, and there are several other things which we can go into the details when it comes to the usage of 5G with a delta in mind. And I think that's where I would say that delta to be experienced, India really needs to invest big time in research across the basics, which is starting from instrumentation to building softwares to having metallurgy, the right kind of metals, etc., etc. Space technology is again something which would greatly benefit from 5G technology. And I think again it comes back to the point of having the right kind of instruments which are put into our satellites, which would help us do space exploration in a much more meaningful manner. Defense, again, the same thing. So I would say that to experience the 5G delta at the economic level and the GDP impact, unless we invest into the instrumentation, into the new innovation, there is not going to be a major delta other than some of the industries which I mentioned about, let's say, the gaming industry, the fintech industry, a little bit of manufacturing here and there. But it's not the delta that we are counting. We are counting as if we are starting from the scratch to now. Telemedicine is already happening, remote surgery already happening, robotic surgery already happening. So what is that delta? If we become brutal with ourselves and say, this is the delta, then I think it's limited at this moment, and we really need to focus our energies somewhere else to be able to use the technology, which is the deliverer, which is the executor. Thank you.
Great, Atul. I think you have touched many points which may sound uncomfortable to a lot, but I think that's being realistic. There is a message in what you have said, and I'd like to add my two bit to what you just said. I think one of the main differentiator or reason perhaps why we don't see a really cool, powerful Indian tech giant. One of the reasons is that India is a very price conscious market, not so much a quality conscious market or a value conscious. Okay? To give you an example, before the pandemic, I was working with a client. They wanted to make an India foray, and they wanted to tie up. They were pioneers in the drone imaging technology. And this is not pure pictures, but these were all analytics which were there. Whoever has seen that technology, and I've shown it to some of the largest companies, they're all floored and amazing. We did a feasibility and the kind of price points that we were talking of were really pathetic. Uh, and as with any tech company, they are looking at valuation as their thing. So they're not looking at profitability. So price was not so much for the profitability, but it was more from valuation perspective. As against a pan-India market with some crores of uh, square feet of scanning, the value that they were getting vis-a-vis one contract that is subsequently backed for the JFK airport uh, was about 6 times of what so many clients put together would have paid. The client just went back to US and I said he'd rather focus on the US market. So the valuation that and the ability of the client to pay for a technology, the willingness of a client to pay. That's perhaps one reason we need to see, because if there is no price, there's no valuation, there is no funds, how is that cycle going to change? That's one part we need to you know, explore how one can change that market, and that's for the big boys to see how they can break that. The second is in terms of formal R&D. I think there's a lot of R&D which is done, and in India we have a word for it called jugaad. You go to Ludhiana, you go to any of these places, you can get some of the best machines produced without any technocrat or engineer or any guy over there. But there's no formal R&D. Perhaps the environment for formal R&D is not there. What is there overseas? You see in terms of grants, not just from government, because government has a limited capacity on how much can they fund, but overall, private funding for grants, which is there. The third reason is the perpetual credit squeeze that the businessmen face in terms of avenues to raise funds for their projects. And no wonder any innovative product that we have seen in the IT segment in the last 10 years ultimately ends up with one of the foreign funds, of bank or what have you. How many of these have been able to list themselves on a stock exchange? How many have been able to mobilize funds locally without surrendering their ownership to foreigners? And I think what my take on all of this is, so 5G is one of the uh, means, modes, way that is coming up. But there are so many technologies disjointed which are coming up over the world. Whether it's metaverse, machine learning, and so many technologies. Presently, most of them are working kind of independently. I think as time goes by, all these technologies are going to converge, and perhaps that is where we're going to see some innovation happening and the big bang that is required to happen. On its own, 5G, perhaps our expectations will be misplaced if we expect 5G contributing some uh, uh, some value to the 5 trillion GDP that we are hoping for without other technologies, the other market dynamics working together towards this. Patents is another area where I see, most technologies are not patented in India. They go to Singapore. Most small issues, they go to Singapore for getting listed over there. That itself talks about a lot of things. The judicial system, which is there, where a contract does not get executed, or you don't get judgments in time, which is what a lot of people are worried about. I think overall, this is a fantastic, mouth-watering new tool for a lot of fintech and education and medical and other technologies that the three of you have spoken about. With this, may I throw the panel open for question answers? There is one longish question there by Nitin Bhuta, which talks about what impact we can anticipate with the introduction of CBDC on financial intermediations, real work applications, tech synergy, and economic impact on business environment of the economy. And then there's a lot I'm not reading, but if you get the gist, any of you would like to address this question? Prashant, would you like to take a?
Yeah. So as I can say is like Dr. Ashish rightly pointed out, in terms of digital currency and the effect of 5G would be more likely in terms of the faster processing. Okay. And that is the key to everything. Like we talked about, the inherent delays or the processing time that takes place. With 5G, everything is going to be real time. How fast a transaction can push through is one of the key things. But if you look at what my colleague Atul said, that it is not only the 5G that is in play. Okay, the instrumentation should be capable of handling this transaction. That means the technology has to be, the software has to be built in, and the instruments. In this case, I would say that when you're talking about digital currency, it's more to do with the smartphones. Okay, so your smartphones should be 5G enabled. Okay, now again, that comes to the cost which Naushad you brought in, saying, we look at Jugaad and you look at what is cheaper. Okay, so are we willing to pay for that kind of technology? Okay, because as I will again come back to what Atul said, was that, everything is already happening. Okay, this is just going to accelerate the speed. So it is not that we have to reinvent something or we have to build something. Yes, in terms of fintech, it will help a lot, in terms of faster data processing, faster analysis, and we'll have to build the solutions to that effect. But on the other side, if the instrumentation or the smartphones are not fully capable of managing, then it will be restricted to a select few. And I don't think the cost of creating such solutions and all will become, there will not be any ROI to that for that matter of fact.
Yeah.
May I do some?
Yeah, Ashish, please.
In addition to the response from Prashant sir and key insights from Atul sir, always there is an opportunity when something deficiently come or something is arising out of technology. So there is a company from Japan, Ranu Ketan. So that company, what they are doing, always there will be a hope that I should move this speed to my desk only. But if certain system which finds that all those speed are actually useless for me, because finally what I'm doing WhatsApp chat, I'm doing Facebook chat, I'm doing internet, and I'm doing few more things. So those things are those actual speed which I am hindering at my place may not be useful for me, but it will be useful for some others. So that opportunity is catered by this Ranu Ketan, by the software development. It will be distributing based on your requirement. So if CBCD, if something is coming into the picture, so these type of the things are going to generate few more ventures, first thing, and second thing, solution. Somebody would be, generating out of the same problems. And coming to the concept, if this type of the things will come, what will happen? Can you see that right now the money or the monetary value which we are keeping in our pocket, it's only describing in terms of the national value. But if it is getting described in terms of the international values, how actually USD is affecting the money in our pocket, that will be reflected if CBDC is implemented.
Yeah. So Amit, any questions from your side? Do you have any?
No, I think what I gather from what all the speakers have said, that the technology is obviously cutting edge technology. Uh, my only worry is that, over the last few years, what we have been seeing, gentlemen, is that the government is speeding ahead of the countrymen in terms of technology. The common man is struggling to keep pace with the government in terms of how technology is changing everything in life in India. All the governance that the government is churning out, everything is digital driven, technology driven, digitized, and the government is expecting results from the common man at virtually the same speed as the speed at which the government is working, which I think in the earlier days there was a reverse situation where the people were far ahead of the government. Today it's virtually I mean, people are finding it extremely difficult to keep pace with the government, with the kind of changes that the government is forcing upon the common man. And if this 5G turns out to be as great or as path breaking as it is made out to be, then I think that the distance, the gap between the government and the common man is only going to increase. And I'm worried, because of that. I don't know whether any one of you has given a thought to this and to how that will impact the way people behave with the government, the way people comply with the laws, the way people may probably elect the next government. I don't know.
I think you have a very valid point, Amit. At times, the government does appear to be investing or betting, on technology, which perhaps needs, but perhaps also we are also positioned in a situation now. 2012, you had 44 telecom providers. Today you're left with 4. One of them is BSNL. So perhaps with Adani and Ambani and Airtel
Vodafone.
betting so high on this technology, perhaps there is something which we may be missing out. And I think on that there is one very nice comment by our Mr. Rashmin Sangvi. He says that we have seen that with the new technology, many new unanticipated products and business models can come up. Can we really anticipate all advantages of 5G today? I think that's perhaps there is more, and time will tell whether this will happen. Mihir, you have any question you'd like to?
No, I have nothing except to offer the closing remarks, if you permit. But it has been a fantastic discussion. Are there any questions left, Naushad?
No, there aren't any questions left except for one small marketing prop. Tomorrow, we are fortunate to have Atul take a longer session for the general public in the lecture series. The topic is inflation dynamics, India versus USA, the two large democracies and two large economies now handling inflation in a different way. I think Atul has some very, very great pioneering, thought-provoking observations and his take on it. And I'm looking forward to listening to him tomorrow. It's at 6:15 online, and hope you all join for that session too. Thank you, everybody. I think Vishesh, are you doing the vote of thanks or?
Yes,
I'll
Naushad
just
bhai.
give a little closing remark.
Sure.
That's what our tradition is, Naushad.
I
So,
thought you are having the last word. So,
no, it has been a fantastic session. And I believe, as the subject suggests, it has been a 360-degree view from all perspectives. The questions are whether it's the whole new technology gamut that has come up is a hype, a euphoria, or is it really going to offer new business opportunities, open areas that are completely unknown, or whether it is going to be an extension of the state that we are in with a certain hope and maybe later a little disappointment. Well, I'm a ever optimistic person, and generally, I mean, I completely concur with all the three, and especially when Atul said that yes, we need to really have a distinction in our mind of what is that value add. Uh, that's a very valid question, but maybe in a time frame, because anyway, West is already now started working for 5G, 5G plus, and over a period, any new technology that comes, as Atul says, instrumentation is something which needs to be done. Yes, it would automatically start building up as a peripheral, because I mean, I remember an old incident of when the aeroplane was invented. It was for fun. I mean, just man wanted to take a challenge whether he can fly or not. Nobody thought that aeroplanes, apart from the passengers, would be really running the whole cargo industry. So I believe for any new technology, the surrounding and the peripheral areas start developing, and so it would. And India definitely offers a very great opportunities, because if it happens in case of not only the industries but also in agriculture, we really have something great things to look forward. Only time will tell the difference. So with this, I will hand it over to Vishesh for a formal vote of thanks. Thank you, all three of you and Naushad, for being here and conducting this wonderful session. As you rightly said, maybe for each one of this, we need to have a separate session to really churn our brains.